Hey guys, welcome to another RocketStock.com video tutorial. My name is Lewis, and today we have an easy tutorial to follow along with. We're going to look at how to get that yellow sky look found in Sicario or TV shows like Breaking Bad. Over the last few years, this stylistic grade has now become a somewhat trope, especially in TV, when the scene is revolving around the cartel along the southern border of the US. But if it's become a recognizable element to let audiences know what's going on without spoon-feeding them, then I guess it works. As with most creative grading, your base material is going to be incredibly important. As with the case of Sicario and Breaking Bad, a lot of compositions that use this grade have a vast blue sky with dry waterless dirt or beige foliage. Quite simply, this grade wouldn't work for a guy sitting in his office against a white background. And the thing is about these Sicario and Breaking Bad style grades is that they live in a world of realism. It's not as abstract as a grade, say, from Domino or CSI Miami. So although there's a distinctive look, it's not as substantial as you may think, and it just requires a slight tweak. Secondly, while I'm going to talk you through all the steps needed, I do want to note that we're going to put a lot more focus on using the HSL curves in this tutorial. They're often overlooked, so I want to direct more attention on using these tools because they pack a powerful punch for when you need to adjust a singular element of an image. That said, let's jump into it. This is our image. It's a few years old. It was shot on the GH4. Therefore, first I'm going to create a camera correction node and add a second node to apply my camera correction LUT. The image wasn't shot on a log profile, but it was shot on one of Panasonic's cine profiles. Therefore, we want to reintroduce the missing contrast and saturation. So I'll apply the Panasonic Cine D to Rec 709 LUT to do that. However, we can also see that by applying that LUT, it slightly overexposed the highlights and blown them out. More precisely, I guess you could say I did not correctly expose while filming. Therefore, we're going to jump back to the first node and bring those highlights back in, and this itself is a nicely balanced image. Next, we're going to create a new node and then create a parallel node. The top node is going to be used to adjust the sky, and the bottom node is going to be used to introduce our Sicario color. Let's jump back up to the upper node, and we're going to start playing around with our hue curves. Now, often when we think about making color adjustments, we think about pushing the primary wheels towards a specific hue. But in doing this, we're adding that color to the entire tonal region. We're not just changing a particular hue, even if that is what you are seeing on your viewer. In using the hue verse curves, we can selectively manipulate the luminance, the saturation, and the hue of hues within the image. In this case, the blue sky. First, I need to select the hue verse hue and grab a qualification of the sky. As we can see in the curve graph, the hue of the sky, blue, sits within this region. And when we push the curve up or pull it down, the sky is going to cycle through the selection of hues available. As such, we're essentially going to set up the sky in this node for the introduction of yellow in the node underneath. Therefore, we have to nullify the hue of the sky and remove the luscious blue. With that, I'm going to move the curve and introduce more of a teal into the sky. Secondly, on the same node, I'm going to open the drop-down menu and change my selection to hue versus sat for saturation. And in this curve, upon making a selection, moving the curve point up will increase the saturation, and pulling the curve down will decrease the saturation. And I'm going to decrease it a slight amount. Now, we still have a blue sky, but in the vein of Sicario, it's very washed and muted. Now it just needs that yellow tint. So we're going to drop down to the node below and start to introduce our colors to give us the intended look. We're going to warm up the midtones, and we're going to do the same with the highlights, but we're going to gravitate towards that yellow hue. And that's it. Of course, if this was a close-up, we'd likely have to correct the talent's skin, but in just 4 nodes, we have that cartel-looking sky. But most importantly, before I finish, I just want to bring your attention to the hue curve node. Even though this doesn't seem like a huge adjustment, nullifying the hue of the sky was one of the most important aspects of the grade, as if you see when I disable the node, it just doesn't have the same effect. Well, my name is Lewis. You can find more tips and tricks on the RocketStock blog. Until next time.